was in Miami, and then I found out that my money was I don't want to.
While I was in Miami, I discovered that, well, let's not get into too much detail about that, but let's just say I knew what type of money I had. And sadly, I only had 2 dogs. After a protracted legal struggle with Wells Fargo, Wendy Williams is coming out in reaction to disturbing allegations that she has ran out of money. Regardless of your opinion of Wendy Williams or whether you believe she deserves it, bank fans are now claiming that Wendy is the victim of financial exploitation, akin to what Britney Spears went through while under conservatorship. This is being demonstrated in front of your very eyes. Wendy Williams seems to have lost all of her wealth. Following Wendy's accusations that Wells Fargo and her former business manager were planning to place her under financial conservatorship, some startling information was recently made public by the judge presiding over the divorce negotiations between Wendy and her ex-husband, Kevin Hunter. Supporters of Wendy have expressed their belief that this is a lot of money because if something similar can happen to a wealthy and well-known person, it can happen to anyone. When Wells Fargo froze all of Wendy's assets more than a year ago, it claimed Wendy was mentally incompetent and required a guardian. Despite Wendy's repeated attempts to prove she could handle her own finances, Wells Fargo refused to allow her to use her own money. Is this a case of financial abuse? Does Wendy have any options for getting her money back? Or are these big banks just too powerful? Let's examine it. Do you not realize how ridiculous it is, and what that means for everyone else who banks with any of these major organizations? Is that Wells Fargo sued to obtain financial conservatorship over her, and they won. Wendy Williams's financial circumstances are becoming worse. Wendy just said she is down to $2, and new claims indicate she has lost all of her riches. Wells Fargo frozen Wendy's bank accounts, so she hasn't been able to access any of her money. The bank has requested that Wendy be named a financial defender first. Let's go over some background information to help us understand the issue. Wendy has a lengthy history of substance misuse and other health problems, which you are probably well aware of. Concerns concerning Wendy's health were further sparked by her fainting during her top program in October 2017. Eventually, Wendy attributed the incident to her tight Halloween costume and dehydration, even though other reports suggested she had suffered a stroke. Take part in it annually. It's always a lot of fun. Now let's begin our first conversation. In February 2018, Wendy revealed that she had been diagnosed with Graves' disease, an autoimmune condition that causes a variety of symptoms, and if unchecked, can have serious side consequences in addition to her original health problems. The pair filed for divorce in October 2020 after Wendy received the heartbreaking news that her husband, Kevin Hunter, had been having an affair with Sharina for 10 years. When Wendy revealed that she was living in a sober house in 2019, her battle with substance abuse shifted. However, Wendy experienced a terrible relapse after leaving the sober house and discovering that Kevin had been following a youngster with Surya. When Wendy found out that Kevin had spent a portion of her funds in Serena's business ventures and had even purchased her a home in New Jersey near Wendy's mansion, her troubles only got worse. Backcountry Barbie, you know that he was swindling money from her, and she's in the passenger seat of my Rolls-Royce Ferrari. I mean, really, and I read about it in the blogs and tabloids. Kevin even had the courage to defend his Mr. Serena on Instagram, live after Wendy checked herself into treatment once more. He even took credit for the success of the Wendy Williams show. But he didn't do it without the greatest assistance from my queen, Sharina Hudson, who now represents me. Additionally, in the family I have there, let's be clear, everybody's family. And I realize that I have to swing the sword for my entire family because there are many people who are trying to explode. Although Charis Shepard's takeover of Wendy's well-known talk show resulted in Wendy's losing her $10 million annual income, we can all agree that Wendy would have overcome all of these setbacks because, like her or not, she has a sizable fan base that would support her if she decided to launch a new show. Wendy acknowledged earlier this year that she had started working on new projects after leaving treatment, but regrettably, Wells Fargo, her bank, had stopped her from continuing. Wells Fargo decided to freeze all of Wendy's accounts, citing her mental disability as justification for needing financial assistance. In order to ensure that Wendy's affairs are being handled appropriately, the bank requested the appointment of a temporary guardian, or evaluator, by the New York Supreme Court while Wendy was still battling her addiction and going through her divorce. Later, Wendy claimed that her former financial advisor, Lori Schiller, had misrepresented her condition to Wells Fargo. According to Wendy's attorney, Schiller did this in retaliation for Wendy firing him for professional misconduct and to keep Wells Fargo from preventing Wendy from accessing her financial statements and assets. In addition, Wendy accused Wells Fargo and Lori Schiller of conspiring to bring her under financial conservatorship in front of the public, and her lawyer asked for a temporary restraining order against the bank. Despite Wendy's opposition, the court ruled in favor of Wells Fargo and designated attorney Sabrina Morrissey as Wendy's financial guardian, granting Morrissey instant authority over any inheritance disbursements. Due to this situation, not only was Wendy unable to access her remaining funds, but Wendy's financial guardian also promptly stopped helping Wendy's sole kid, Kevin Jr., financially, which led to Kevin's eviction from his Miami condo. Kevin recently gave an exclusive interview with The Sun about this experience. Kevin Jr. also said that Wendy's management team had purposefully pushed her to consume alcohol and had used her hospital stay as a pretext to place her under financial guardianship. As Kevin Jr. said, he went on to say that Wendy's staff essentially coerced her into signing contracts during or shortly after her recovery, and that they did so by pressuring her into doing so. When I learned that she was agreeing to things related to her rehab, I immediately thought, well, they are taking advantage of someone who needs to improve. Kevin went on to say that Wendy's team may have encouraged her drinking problem. They are undoubtedly encouraging a certain kind of personality and giving her permission to drink if they aren't providing it. We may all agree, Kevin said, that if you work hard for your money, you should be free to spend it however you like, and that no bank should be able to label you insane without providing any evidence. We also know that not everyone enjoys Wendy's show, and she wasn't always the most considerate of people. It's particularly concerning since there seems to be a pattern in Hollywood, and that big banks and Hollywood handlers frequently collaborate to take advantage of celebrities. The same thing happened to Britney Spears, whose manager gave her excessive amounts of lithium, seriously harming her mental health. Later, the manager used her condition as an excuse to restrict her access to her money. And more recently, after she openly criticized the way Hollywood superstars are handled. When G. Morgan Chase debanked him, they froze and placed a $75 million hold on 4 of his accounts. They then said, "You owe a lot of taxes." It took him 6 hours to figure out how much a lot was. He said, "Well, around $50 million. Now I'm going to different CFOs like, okay, so would this be tax evasion because I'm obviously not the most financially literate person on the planet. I was just a child." In other words, it seems like when you become famous, you stop growing at that point. I became famous at the age of 24, and I had handlers around. My mother was always around different things, so it seemed like you went from one handler to the next handler to the next half. Fans of Wells Fargo and Wendy have prompted talks about the power dynamics that banks have over regular individuals. They go on to say that we should all be concerned Because if a bank can exert this much pressure over celebrities, imagine what they can do to the rest of us. People should be extremely concerned about Wells Fargo's actions, according to a tweet from Wendy Williams. Wendy went into Wells Fargo and declared she was canceling her account because she believed the company was conspiring with her business manager to steal from her, rather than looking into the charges. You don't have to be wealthy for Wells Fargo to legally abuse you financially. They've done this to elderly